I've been asked to talk for a few minutes, which, is quite easy for me to do. It helped to be a radio announcer. I recall my boss sitting down and talking for half an hour about 12 animals, cows, that went to Toronto and won the whole thing. And I said to him when he was finished, I hope someday I'll be able to talk like you do. Because you could talk forever, couldn't you? And he said, yes. And he talked about cows. I get to talk about the scriptures, harmony of body, mind, and spirit, so I like my subject material. And I like to talk. So I was just looking at my notes, and I was just wondering, one of our beautiful April retreats, I don't know which one, talked about memories. And one of the important things during this quarantine time is to look over your mortal memories. What happened to you? How did you get where you got? What key decisions came your way? What did you do? Did you make those decisions? Are you glad about them? Mortal memory. The assignment spiritually is to look over all your memories of your life. These are very important because God's in back of our experiences. God's in back of our life. There's God shining through. And one of the points of yoga is to recall keenly the mortal memories. What happened? Why did it happen? Try to understand it as much as you can. Even when you were immature and couldn't understand it at all, look at it now. Go through your mortal memories and write them all down, look at them, and what you're hoping to do is have divine memory enter into the picture and see each mortal memory has God in it. Something from God, a gift, a lesson, light from God to you is there in each mortal memory. Some of them are painful, but not when the divine enters in and shows you how important that was or how significant to your present day life. I went through wanting to be a doctor most of my young life. When I was in college, a doctor said, you wouldn't enjoy it. He was so unhappy. And he helped me turn to some other prospect. But I was pre-med and I was going to be a doctor. And so many things happened in my life around that time. No, I should be a writer. I should go and learn how to write plays. A buddy of mine was a producer off Broadway who lost all his money. And there were all kinds of difficulties he had in New York. But he was working for the library at Arizona State in Tempe, the ASU, Arizona State University Library. And he became a pal of mine. And he told me all about Broadway and taught me, if you're going to go to New York, you're going to have to eat caviar. So with those little oyster crackers, he taught me how to eat and enjoy caviar at the time. Just getting ready for a career in New York City. Then his friend got out of the mental institution, and they were desperate for money, so we had to end our partnership on a musical that we were working on. And that happened to spring me to maybe I should study with this great teacher, my friend from New York, who was the librarian at ASU, one of the librarians. He said, if you're ever going to study playwriting, you've got to go and see John Gassner in New York. He's at Yale right now, but he was the head of the Dramatists Guild in New York. And he's a great teacher. And so I go, eventually, lots of adventures along the way. I end up writing him a note from the YMCA or WCA. I think it was YMCA. And told him that David Long, a friend of mine, had recommended I come and see him. And so he said, we don't do this sort of thing, Mr. Ledgerwood. He wrote it in a card. However, you may come and see one of my classes. and here's how you get there. I went there and he said, you can attend all the classes, and don't start at the beginning level, attend my advanced classes. And so I end up writing plays and thinking I'm going to have this wonderful time writing plays. He recommended I go to England. He says they'll accept you there. If they accept you in England, then they'll accept you in New York. So I thought, but I don't have enough plays written. I should go to Arizona, which is really good for my chest problems. I was asthmatic as he is. And so I end up trying to get a part-time job so I can write plays in Phoenix, where my pals were and where I really enjoyed life. It was a wonderful place, Phoenix, Tempe. So I start writing plays, and I start trying to get a part-time job. They would not give me a part-time job. They were all full-time jobs. They wanted all of my energy. So I end up, after 2 months of trying, I end up getting a job writing for a newspaper, which wore me out every day. Law and business, which really was a wonderful thing to learn about law and business. And I became the editor of Global Trade. We called it Foreign Trade in those days. And I was the head of the Foreign Trade page, and it was really wonderful. They asked me if I'd like to be the publisher of the paper years down the road, if I'd like. So I've got this opportunity, but you notice it's almost like I'm skating on ice between possibilities. What on earth am I going to become? While there, I had a good time studying mysticism, which I did by correspondence. And the mystics had a chapter in Phoenix. And I got to know them. They became very close friends. And so now I'm studying mysticism and writing for a newspaper and trying to write plays. So I've got all these memories of how my life moved. Then mystically, I had a breakthrough. And for about 3 months, I thought I had everything I ever aspired for. I was just in a heavenly state of consciousness. And so I thought I had found it all. But it began to slip away as I was called north to look after my mother, who was having difficulty with breast cancer, and my brother, who was a juvenile diabetic. He came along 15 years later in our lives. And he was a wonderful surprise, a wonderful guy. So we had so much fun with him. But he became a juvenile diabetic. So back in Canada for the winter, writing plays, thinking I was going to be a playwright. And then spring came. Mom was much better. My brother was much better. So I said, I'd like to go and see the mystics in San Jose. Since I've had a breakthrough, I'd like to just continue there. So I went to San Jose to get a job on the radio. And while working on the radio, I asked a buddy of mine, I said, I want to live in a higher state, not just visit it. And as a mystic, I was visiting rather than living in it. And he said, well, you've got to come and meet this yogi. It's time for you to come into yoga again. I had done it when I was graduating from high school way back then. But as a result of all of these memories, I could see spiritually, God is guiding me through various important experiences all the way to becoming more of a yogi. And that led to becoming a guru. And my life path was very clear. And it had not been clear for many, many years as I went from place to place to place. Mortal memories developed into divine experiences and divine memories.